Today is Wednesday, August 10th. We'll update you about what we do and don't know right now about the FBI's raid of former President Trump's home and new reaction from prominent Republicans. Also, new military tensions between China and Taiwan that's blocking a major trade route, what the top American politician who sparked the flare-up is saying now. Plus, a new sign of relief from soaring inflation. A sports icon says she's ending her professional career. And can you guess which state is said to have the best and worst workforce in the country? Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. There are still a lot of questions this morning about the FBI's unprecedented search at former President Trump's home. For example, why did the FBI feel the need to take such a drastic step? What exactly were agents looking for? And what does this all mean for former President Trump's political future? The answers aren't exactly easy to come by, since the Justice Department is staying tight-lipped about all of it. Remember, the FBI executed a search warrant at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. And one former federal prosecutor called it the most important search warrant in the history of the United States. Many news outlets cite sources who say the raid was connected to documents Trump took from the White House that may have been classified, and that taking them would be illegal. In the past, Trump has said he never meant to take anything he wasn't supposed to, and that he's been cooperating with the government to sort things out. So it's not clear what kind of evidence they were looking for. As of this morning, this is just an investigation, and no formal charges have been filed. Still, the former president says the raid only happened for political reasons, and a lot of Republicans are backing him up on that, like the Republican National Committee chairwoman who called the search an abuse of power, and House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy, who promised to investigate the Justice Department if Republicans take over Congress next year. Some Democrats also want to know what's been happening behind closed doors at the DOJ and says it's best for officials to clarify. So far, all the U.S. Attorney General has said about this publicly is, quote, "No one is above the law." To be continued. There's a new plan to try and deal with the growing number of monkeypox cases in the U.S. and a shortage of the vaccine for it. The FDA will now allow the monkeypox vaccine to be injected between skin layers instead of deeper into body fat. It might not sound like that big of a difference, but vaccine injections done in the skin only require a fifth of the dosage. So a dose amount that used to just be for one person can now be split up for 5 people. And since the dose will be smaller, kids will be able to get the vaccines too in the usual way. Right now, adults or kids who have been exposed or are considered high risk are eligible for the vaccine. FDA leaders said these changes were their best option to meet the growing demand for vaccine protection. But the downside is it takes special training for someone to give the vaccine to adults through the skin layer method. And there's not a lot of data to know how well it works. More than 9,000 people have been infected with monkeypox in the U.S. so far. Reports say it is possible the actual number is even higher because so far testing has been limited. The virus is currently spreading the most among men who have sex with men, but it can impact anyone who has very close contact with an infected person. Well, there's a tit-for-tat going on between China and Taiwan, as tensions in the region are the highest they've been in years. This week, China indefinitely extended military exercises that have disrupted one of the biggest trade routes in the world. And since then, the Taiwanese launched their own anti-invasions drills. So, dozens of Chinese fighter jets are flying through the skies and Chinese warships are cruising through the waters, all while both Chinese and Taiwanese troops have been firing weapons into the sea. The show of military might between the two countries has some worried this could be the beginning of a war between two heavily armed adversaries. Well, this conflict has definitely gotten worse since U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made a trip to Taiwan to show her support for the democracy there, despite China's and the Pentagon's warnings to stay away. This week, Pelosi told NBC News she still thinks the trip was worth it. She said China's president is just acting like a scared bully with the new drills. Remember, China claims to own Taiwan, and China's current president has said he'll use force if needed to exert that control. If you felt like last month was exceptionally hot, sticky, and uncomfortable, you weren't wrong. The government agency NOAA found the U.S. just experienced its third hottest July of all time. Scientists say the U.S. was 2.8 degrees hotter on average than it typically is, and individual states broke heat records. Texas, for example, just had its hottest July ever. The heat has also led to extreme drought conditions and massive wildfires in certain states. And it's not just in the U.S. A European Union program put out a new report this week as well, saying this July was one of the 3 hottest on record worldwide. Extreme heat toppled records across Portugal, Spain, France, and other parts of Europe. China also issued red alert heat warnings last month. Japan experienced one of its worst heat waves of all time in June, and India dealt with blistering heat for weeks on end in April. All right, we have much more news to know still ahead, but first, let's take a quick break for our sponsor, ZocDoc. If you're like my family, you like to pore over lists of reviews before deciding on where to book a reservation for brunch or dinner. So why not do the same when you're booking a doctor's appointment? With ZocDoc, you can see real, verified patient reviews to help find the right doctor in your network and in your neighborhood. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. Yep, that's the other key here. You filter your search to only show doctors that take your insurance, which is such a time saver. And on ZocDoc, you can find every specialist under the sun. Whether you're trying to straighten those teeth, fix an achy back, get a mole checked out, or anything else, ZocDoc has you covered. Plus, ZocDoc's mobile app is as easy as reserving that brunch spot online or getting delivery to your house. Search, find, and book doctors with a few taps. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Here's a sign that soaring inflation may be slowing. For the first time in more than 2 years, prices for online items went down. New data from the Adobe Digital Price Index shows online prices dipped 1% in July compared to the same time last year. So why, after 2 years of rising online prices, are they easing up now? Well, experts say many businesses had stocked up on inventory to meet online demand during the pandemic. But now, with high inflation, people aren't buying as many items, just necessities. As a result, companies have an oversupply, which is forcing them to lower prices. The report found electronics, in particular, saw the biggest drop in their prices over the past year, falling 9%. Yet, the cost of some online categories stayed high, like food. Grocery prices went up the most. They increased by a record 13.4% from a year ago. Overall, though, there are more signs that inflation is easing. The national average price for a gallon of gas fell below the $4 mark for the first time since March. All of this together is leading economists to predict the inflation rate will be about 8.7% for July. That's still high, but it is at least down from just over 9% in June. We'll find out for sure soon. The latest government data will be released today. Snapchat is rolling out new parental controls. One new tool lets parents see who their teens are talking to on the app. Parents can even report any accounts they may be worried about without their child's knowledge. The new feature is part of the new so-called Family Center, and here's how it works. Parents need to download the Snapchat app and link their account to their teens. Both parent and teen have to opt in. Then parents can see who their child is communicating with, but not the actual content. The company says it's meant to mimic real-life parenting, since a parent may ask who their teen is going to the movies with, but won't be sitting there listening to the conversations. A Philadelphia-based theme park is now promising to better train its employees after several allegations of bias against Black children. You may have seen a viral video of one of the families going around on social media. It shows someone in a Sesame Street character costume appearing to snub 2 little Black girls during a parade. The character is waving and high-fiving white families and then appears to gesture no to the Black girls before walking away. And that isn't the only allegation of its kind at the theme park, called Sesame Place. A law firm has now filed a class action lawsuit against parent company SeaWorld. So now, Sesame Place says national civil rights experts will lead a racial equity review. There will be new anti-bias training for employees and more. The theme park president said they're committed to making sure all guests feel welcome. The most dominant women's tennis player in the world says her playing career is coming to an end. Serena Williams says she doesn't like the word retirement, so she told Vogue magazine she's evolving away from tennis. Williams made her professional debut in 1995 at just 14 years old. Since then, she's won 73 career singles titles and 4 Olympic gold medals, on top of a lot of other accolades. And Williams is still competing. She says she's going to try to win the U.S. Open next month, which will likely be her final competition. If she does go out on top, Williams will tie the record for the most major tournament wins in women's tennis. But as she put it, quote, "I hope that people come to think of me as symbolizing something bigger than tennis." And And that's it for the main news today. So now it's time for Work Wednesday, when we break down one interesting career or work-related news story every Wednesday. But first, a message from our sponsor, Thrive Causemetics. If you're like me and you've been looking for a new beauty and skincare routine, I have your solution. Thrive Causemetics has clean, high-performance products. They never have parabens, sulfates, or phthalates, so I feel confident putting these products on my skin every day. And here's another awesome thing about Thrive Causemetics. Cause is in the name for a reason. Every purchase supports organizations that help communities thrive. Over the years, I've had to report on a lot of natural disasters, domestic abuse cases, and veterans who struggle to adjust after war. So I really appreciate that Thrive Causemetics gives to organizations working on all of those issues and more. So far, I have their Brilliant Eye Brightener. It's a cream-to-powder highlighter stick. I love the Liquid Balm Lip Treatment that nourishes lips and gives them a great glossy look as well. And the best-selling Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara. I now use it every day. The name explains it all. Now is a great time to try Thrive Causemetics for yourself. Right now, you can get 15% off your first order when you visit thrivecausemetics.com/newsworthy. That's Thrive Causemetics, CAUSEMETICS, thrivecausemetics.com/newsworthy for 15% off your first order. Okay, now back to Work Wednesday. Good workers are in such high demand these days, it might make the most sense for companies to start going to them instead of the other way around. Some employers have already started thinking this way. In a recent CNBC survey, CFOs listed workforce as the most important factor when they decide where to set up shop or expand. So where are those places exactly? CNBC also ranked certain states by the quality of their workforce, and Colorado came in as number one. That's partly because it has one of the most educated workers in the country. Far fewer college-educated employees leave Colorado than move to the state each year. Next on the list, Texas. The Lone Star State is in the top 10 for worker productivity. On the other end of the list, the state with the worst-ranked workforce is Vermont. Recent studies found Vermont had more than 46,000 job postings per 100,000 people, the highest rate in the nation. And people there with jobs don't seem to want to stay, since the state has a pretty high rate of resignations. So while it might not be the most attractive place for businesses, you might have a lot of luck finding a job in Vermont. There seems to be an abundance of opportunities. Well, thank you for joining us as part of your daily routine. We will catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.